Hello, everyone. My name is Camellia. I am a psychiatric mental health nurse practitioner, also known as a PMHNP. I'm also a nursing and mental health enthusiast. And today I actually am sort of doing just a spontaneous video because my goal for this channel is to really share sort of things in real time, to be as authentic as possible and as transparent as possible through my journey as a PMHNP. I do want to share with you guys, if you followed me for a little bit, you know that I've worked in quite a few places. I've been a PMHNP for a few years. I've done outpatient in a large organization, transitioned from there to a PRN position in the emergent behavioral health emergency room, which I'm still doing. I also am working, doing some part-time work by Psych, and I've also been, as my sort of main position, have been working in private practice. So 2 years ago, 2019, around this time of the year, I actually transitioned fully to private practice. And I want to share with you guys that as of today, which marks roughly about 2 years to date, that I am going to be transitioning from my current private practice position. So it's bittersweet. There's lots of things that I won't get into on this video that led to this decision. But I did want to share with you guys, I just sort of started reflecting on the last 2 years. Of course, things have been more challenging as it relates to the COVID-19 pandemic. But I did want to share with you guys some of the things that I started reflecting on as I am coming to a halt with this particular opportunity. And that is really pertaining to private practice opportunities as a PMHNP and sort of some of the things that I've learned along the way. And really, that's the goal of this channel, is to share what I've learned, to also gain, insight from you guys as you share your experiences. But today, again, is my last day in private practice. And a few things that I've learned that I did sort of jot down is that, some of the benefits of private practice, and because I've been able to work in like a corporate organization, outpatient, I've been able to work in the emergency room in the hospital, I've been able to see sort of and compare sort of some of the differences with private practice, some of the perks, some of the things that are a little bit more challenging in private practice. And so that's what I'll share with you guys today. I'm going to make this video sort of short and sweet as I can. There's lots to share. I may be able to pick up on another video related to this topic. But a few things that I've learned with private practice is that it can be a great experience. I sort of jumped into private practice a couple of years into being a PMHNP. What I have learned is that it does require you to be more independent. You have to function more as an independent clinician. Although I'm in North Carolina, I am not able to practice independently as a psychiatric mental health nurse practitioner, and so I still have to have collaboration. So essentially, this was not my company, but I was working as a contractor for a private practice organization. There is a difference between working as an employee and a contractor. I will share more about that in another video. But for just sort of the umbrella term that I'm using today is I was working in private practice. And I've learned that it does require you to be more independent. Independent as in your ability to operate and to take care of patients, but also to sort of be able to think outside the box as it pertains to running a practice, and to be able to sustain things. And I've had some support in some resources along the way. I did not go into this completely blind, but there were lots of things that I had to learn and navigate on my own. So it does require a lot of legwork, a lot of research, but it does require you to be slightly more independent. That's from an operational standpoint and also from a standpoint of patient care. Okay. some of you may be actually doing this already, so I'm happy to hear what you guys have learned. You may also be doing this in more of a private practice where you're actually the one that's owning the practice and you are able to practice independently. So that didn't apply to me, but definitely share your experiences there if you have any. This opportunity did allow me some flexibility. So I will say flexibility is highly valued because as a PMHNP, you're going to find that depending on where you work, you may have less time for patients, you may have less autonomy, you may have less decision making in which patients you see in terms of patient population, how many patients you see a day, how much time you have for each patient. And so that's one of the biggest perks that I will say that I had for this position, is that the flexibility in terms of me being able to spend 45 minutes to an hour for an initial visit, me being able to spend at least 30 minutes, sometimes 45 minutes or more for follow-up visits. Also, I was working with adolescents to adults, so I was not working with anyone under the age of 14 with this practice, and that was my decision. And so that allowed me to really have some flexibility there. That was not the case when I worked in corporate outpatient, in the outpatient setting in a corporate organization. And so I basically had to kind of go with whatever was already spelled out for me in terms of patient care. Patient load, so how many patients you see in a day, that's also much more flexible. Where that can benefit you over time is that you have more of a balance. So you being able to make your own decisions around your patients, what that's going to look like, can also create a little bit more balance for you. What does that do for you? It creates more job satisfaction. So I will say that that was a big perk for me coming working in this opportunity. Okay. Also, I will say, guys, that just a few ins and outs. If you are sort of learning the ropes with this, and of course, I'm no expert in this area, but these are things, again, that I've learned, is that you will have to, if you're not in a place where you've already got an established practice, where patients are already coming in, they know the practice, they know what you offer. If you're in a building phase, it can be slightly more challenging. And so in addition to seeing patients, you're also sort of in a building phase. And so your stream of patients and just patients coming into the practice can look a little slower. Of course, for me, it was a lot slower partly because of the pandemic. And I'll share another reason why as well. But it's partly, because of that we weren't able to get much traction as a brand new practice with obtaining referrals. So I will say it's important to work on referrals from places like therapy offices, intensive outpatient practices, employer organizations, or employer assistance programs, such as EAP programs, in addition to other places like the hospital. So patients that are coming from a hospital setting, wanting to set up an appointment for an outpatient visit to continue their care. So those are just some ways places that you can obtain referrals. But again, I did find that more challenging because I was not only seeing patients, but also, trying to work through how to continue to see patients and create a sustainable practice. It takes time, so you have to have patience for that. Some of you may be working in places where you don't have to do that, and the patient population and your patients are already established. But if you're sort of learning the ropes and getting started, do rely heavily on referrals to really get patients to know that you're there. And the other thing that I've learned, and I sort of jotted some of these things down, is to keep in mind that insurance is going to be very important. So to make a decision, what I found is that I had to make a decision on whether or not we wanted to accept insurance. Now, that wasn't fully my decision because, again, it was not my practice. I was working as a contractor. But what's important about private practice is that you are going to find that there are many private practices that do not offer or take insurance from patients. They're not paneled on insurance panels. A lot of that has to do with being underpaid. But what I did find in my experience is that you can actually negotiate your rates with insurance companies. So do know that there is some legwork there as well, but deciding whether or not you want to accept insurance, if not, what are your rates going to be for a 30-minute visit, for a visit with psychotherapy, for an initial visit or a follow-up visit. But also know if you are going to accept patients that, would require a sliding scale. So sliding scale is very common. It can be pretty common in mental health, where you are actually just having the patient pay a certain amount based on their income. Okay. And what does that do? It helps you to be able to, patients to be able to keep up with their care and in a financially sensible way. But you're going to find lots of different rates out there for an initial visit for PMHNP. That's basically based in geographic location, but it's also based in time and how much time you're spending with those patients. But those are the few highlights that I have learned, guys. Is again, just sort of recapping here, perks that there are perks that it's more flexible, you have more autonomy, you get to be more independent in private practice. But the challenges come with, particularly if it's a new practice, being able to obtain patients, letting patients know you're there, sustaining your practice, but also decision making around whether you're going to accept insurance. And so that can really play into your overall livelihood as a PMHNP. But again, some of the perks is that, you are definitely able to obtain more balance. At least that's what I found in my experience. I don't know exactly where this is taking me at this point. But I will definitely be sure to share with you guys as I pivot or continue on my journey. I'm still working telepsych. I'm also still working in the emergency room as needed. So I do plan to share more videos around what those roles look like. And I'll definitely kind of keep you guys abreast of the changes. But let me know if you have questions, comments. Maybe you found a way that's worked for you in private practice. But I'm hopeful that this video was helpful to someone. And please leave a comment or question, and I'll be sure to get back to you. I'll see you guys in the next video. Thanks. Bye-bye.